this is my studio. It's kind of big. The problem is I'm leaving. The bigger problem is how the hell am I gonna fit all of this into my suitcase? That's what we're gonna do today. So guys, here's the thing. I am going to be traveling basically indefinitely. So what I want to do today is figure out how to travel with my entire YouTube studio in one tiny little bag. Tripod, massive video lights. Ooh, we have 2 of these things. And again, my lenses and camera and audio equipment, everything has to fit into one, ideally backpack or bag. I think it's possible. And you know what? Let's make the challenge extra hard on ourselves. Let's not make it a wheeling suitcase. Let's make it a backpack. All right, I'm gonna go get it. Wait here. Okay, so here is my Gitzo bag. Here is my Gitzo bag. This is my big travel photo bag, and I want everything ideally to fit right inside of here, and I think we can make it happen, but there are 2 independent problems that I need to solve with your help. The first, like I mentioned already, is I need all of my YouTube, my video equipment to fit inside the bag. The second problem is it's not just video, it's also photography. Didn't know if you guys knew this, but I publish photo books. These are some of my images. That is still in the prototype form, called shako. These are all images that I made in Japan using my photo camera and also my photography specific lights. These lights are great, but they have some big problems. One, they're big. They're really, really big. They're hard to travel with, and they're very delicate. Plus, they don't have a battery. You can buy one, but they're super expensive, so I have to plug in using the AC cord. On top of that, in order to use them properly, you need something like this Octobox that makes the light more smooth. That is insanely heavy, and let me show you why. If you look inside, it has a massive steel frame that the light itself mounts to. Yeah, I know it doesn't look that big, but trust me, it is huge, and it makes travel with it basically impossible because that's gonna be all your weight just right there. So again, this is one of the problems, is how am I gonna travel with all of that stuff, let alone the massive poles you need to hold the lights up. That's why for travel and photography, I use a different light called a Profoto light. So this is what the Profoto B10 looks like. Very small, very light, about the size of a large camera lens, and it is my flash. And then there we go. There we go. Now what's so cool about these lights is not only are they Bluetooth, but they come with a battery. This makes it perfect. So not only do I need to bring all that equipment, but I also have to bring this equipment. Now I'm gonna be using this for my laptop as well, so we kind of reduce the amount of space we have. And here we go. So it's gonna be a little hard to fit everything in this bag. Maybe. Obviously, we're gonna have to reserve some of this space for the camera that's on the tripod right now, as well as the where's the camera angle? Right there, 3, look at that. The 3 camera lenses that I have for my Sony, which is currently recording my beautiful hands. So we're gonna try to get everything into this one little bag. Now, originally, when I was going to just travel with all my stuff, I got a really big suitcase that would just barely hold my video lights over here, but I knew there was a high degree of probability that they would break in transit. Now, there is a solution to that, and I'll show you really quickly, is this massive case. Here we go. Now, the problem with this case, although it does hold both of my video lights, it's so big and so heavy and doesn't hold anything else. One of the suitcases that I check in only has lights in it and nothing else. Then there's no way I'm gonna be able to carry everything, including my photography setup, because again, it has to be both photo and video. Now, before I go any further, let's actually turn my studio on so I can show you what lighting I want to replicate and some of the solutions that I found that we still need to test in this video. So lights in the studio go off. So the video looks extremely dark right now, and that's because I decided when I turn on the lights, I want the lighting, the exposure of the camera to be what it would normally be if I was filming a YouTube video here in my studio. There's one. And here's the second one. There it is. All right, so when I sit here at my little desk, I should look nice and clean and bright, and this is my video studio that I'm going for. This big one here is called my key light. It's what lights me in the front and makes me look sparkly and rainbow. Behind me is my hair light or backlight, and so it gives me a little bit of contrast away from the background. Now obviously I do have a paper roll back here, otherwise this would be just a white wall. But when I travel with my studio, I don't care what the background is. The background really doesn't matter. I'm not gonna be fitting that paper roll because it's like 12 feet or something. It's not gonna fit in any bag. But the point here is this lighting, what you see right now, is what I want to be able to match with a setup that I can travel really easily with. And I think this lighting looks pretty good. So the question is, can I emulate this in something that can fit in a tiny backpack? Now, before we tackle the really hard issue, which is the lights, right? That is the Goliath that we need to fight. First, let's tackle something really simple. We're gonna go through all the equipment that we need. Now, as far as the lenses that I have, first is my Sony 20mm 1.8. This lens is my vlogging lens. It's good for walking around, holding so you can see the world around me. If you have a tighter lens, it looks more like this, or actually, there we go. A tighter lens will look more like this, really bad for vlogging. Now, the second lens that I have is my brand new Sony f1.4 35mm lens. Now, this lens is not good for having on a vlog camera like this and walking around because again, it will be too tight. It'll be like this. But the problem with this lens is when you're filming in a studio setting, when you're sitting on the hot seat right there, when I have my studio set up and I'm doing the talking head bit, this is a little bit too wide. And let me show you why. When I put my camera on the tripod using the 20mm lens, the wide angle lens, you get kind of a problem. Notice when I sit in front of my camera like this, you can see the background behind me, obviously, but you can tell that it's paper. It doesn't look creamy and out of focus and blurry. And on top of that, there's not a lot of space to put anything behind me anyway. In some of my older videos, I had these things behind me, including this little light, called a practical light, which makes the background just look visually interesting. But when you use a 20mm lens, this is the furthest I can get, where I can literally reach back and touch the paper roll. So why can't I move the camera forward and get more stuff behind me? Well, watch. As I walk forward, you start seeing the entire set. You can see the walls. In fact, here, I'll put it back on my tripod, but move the tripod up. When I put this in, you can see the walls. Now this is what I would need to do to get the desk closer, to have me closer, where the background looks nice and blurry and I'm in focus. I would need to be this close and this far away from the wall, but if I do this, you can see the walls. That is where the 35mm lens comes, and let me show you. So now I have the 35mm lens, and what I'm gonna do is swap it for the 20mm lens that's on the camera right now. So here is the background that you see. When I click my fingers, we'll switch over to the 35. There we go, look at that. And now when I come and sit over here, the camera's focused on me, the background is so far away that it gets blurry, and most importantly, practical lighting, which looks nice and blurry, out of focus, and again, gives me more separation from the background. This setup right now is my YouTube camera. I also have my photography camera, which is a totally different setup. Let's tackle the easy thing first, which is dealing with tripods. As far as tripods go, this is the one that I've been using. It's a Manfrotto 055 carbon fiber tripod. Now I am able to pick this up with one hand, but let's be real, this is not light. It is very, very heavy and will take up a significant amount of room and weight in a travel suitcase. So this is not an ideal tripod. Now it is carbon fiber, which is great, but even though it's carbon fiber, it's still so heavy, that's not gonna work. The solution that I found is right here, and I kind of teased it earlier in the video. This is the Peak Design Travel Tripod. This is super, super light. I can easily pick it up and manipulate it with one hand, but it also folds up way, way smaller. So let me show you just how small this can get. So first up, let's fold the Manfrotto one up. Still extremely large. In fact, let's see just how large it is. I have a stupid ruler. It's like a cross. This thing always gets in the way. Anyway, let's see how tall this is. Just shy of 27 inches. So again, traveling this in a suitcase is a giant pain, let alone in my backpack. So let's try the Peak Design one now. I mean, this is really comical how light this is. I can hold it out just like this with no support. I could pick this up with my pinky if I could balance it. You're not doing that with this, but look at the size difference. I mean, really, look at that. That's insane. Pretty radical difference. We see that we're rocking about 16 inches. Now it's time to tackle the really big problem. The tripod, the camera, all that stuff is easy. The hard part of having a mobile YouTube studio is the lighting, especially if you want your lighting to look good. So we need to find some solutions. Now, I did find one that was sitting under my nose the entire time. Now, remember when I talked to you about my Profoto B10, the strobe light? Well, I was doing a little bit more research on it, and well, it turns out that this does have what they call a model light. Basically an LED that shines the light out to give you an idea of what the flash strobe will look like. The model lights are usually not very good. The colors can be weird, they can be yellowy, they can be too dark to actually use for a video setting. When I started looking at the model light of this unit, I realized it's actually fairly bright. Usually they're balanced for either tungsten, like the lights above me, this is your typical indoor light, or balanced for daylight, which is your outdoor light. These big video lights that I have here have a control dial to twist, which you can change them from day to tungsten. The reason that's important is because if you're traveling and doing your YouTube videos at a hotel room or anywhere, you might want to match the color of the light to the room or the space that you're in. I'm gonna give you a demonstration. I turned all the lights off. I'm gonna come back here and turn this on. And you can see there's two dials. This is for brightness, so dark to bright, and this one is for color. So look at the color of the room. Now I'll change it from daylight to tungsten. Now as we come back to the Profoto light, I'm gonna turn the model light on, and there we go. We have the model light, but as it turns out, if you look close, I can actually change the temperature of the light to tungsten or back to daylight. So right off the bat, this ticks 3 of our 4 requirements for a travel YouTube light. The first is that it has a battery. When we travel, we might not always be in a situation where we can easily plug in a AC wire like this. We might be outdoors, we might be in a space where we just want quick light on us like that. This can do it. We also realize that this light has the ability to change the color temperature of the model light. Look at that, daylight tungsten. We also know that this can be used for photography, which again, for me, is extremely important. But the last thing about this light we haven't tested, the last most important feature of all the features, is can the model light get bright enough to compete with a dedicated video light? Can this get bright enough that I can record in my YouTube studio with the same quality that I have from these massive, massive lights? The answer to that should be no, but we can test it. So to test it, what I'm gonna do is put both lights next to each other, turn them both on, and see if the brightness is about equal. This is a light meter. What it basically does is it detects how much light is hitting it and can give you a reading in relation, again, to your camera. So right now, they're basically next to each other at the same distance. So what I'm gonna do is turn all the lights off, turn one light on, measure the distance, take an exposure reading, and then compare it to the other light. And again, we want both readings to be about the same. I've walked over to these light switches like 100 times today to make this video. Now there is one other big note I have to make, and that's we can see right here, only using 1/6 of the power of this light to record my YouTube video based on the standard settings that I use. Here's why that's so important. When I film my YouTube videos, this right here is the actual amount of light that I need to make the videos look good. So this little Profoto light doesn't have to be as powerful as this light. It just has to be as powerful as this light right now at 1/6 of its power output. When I thought about that, I realized that this model light might just be powerful enough to match 1/6 of this light. If it can, then we have a gold mine, a light that can be used not just for pro level photography, but also for pro level video in a package that's so tiny and light, I don't need to have a suitcase. I can just throw it in my backpack. This isn't gonna be exactly scientific, but it'll be good enough. So what I'm gonna do now is turn my light meter on, and I'm gonna measure exactly 1 arm length away from the light and see how much light is hitting this thing. All right, 1 arm length hitting the button. We're at ISO 100 at f2 at 1/8 of a second. I'll put that on the screen so we can use that as a reference point. So now what we're gonna do is put on the B1 at full power, and again, we just need it to, at minimum, match this exposure. Turning this light on, and we're gonna turn this to full power. So 1 arm length away, it's not even close. We're at f2, ISO 100 at 1/25. That is 4 stops of difference. That is multiple times brighter than this light. So we know right off the bat that this light kills it, knocks it out of the park. We have solved the major problem of having a YouTube studio when we travel, which is dealing with lighting. But then again, there still are some problems we have to solve. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and just for fun, test how bright this light can get. So I'm gonna turn the Profoto off, turn on the Astra 1x1 video light, and we're gonna pump this up to full brightness. So 1, 2, 3, boom. So again, arm's length. So now we're at f2, ISO 100 at 2/50ths of a second. That means, and this is radical, that both lights are almost identical. This light puts out 1 stop more light than the B1, which means that this light right here puts out double the amount of light, and that's it from the same distance. This is incredibly useful because it means in 99% of situations, this light is going to be fine, assuming we can solve the problem of diffusing it. Otherwise, we're gonna have a spotlight on us that frankly does not look very good. Now, I did do this test off camera, so I already knew that this solution worked, which is why I purchased another Profoto light. So here we go. Now I have 2. So this is my second one right here in this box, which will open soon. But again, the problem that we have to solve now is making sure the light is nice and diffused. Over here, I have my snap bag, which is this big diffuser here, which makes the light nice and diffused. In fact, if we look inside, you'll see that there is a second layer of diffusion in there. This means that by the time the light gets to me, it's passed through the first level of diffusion here, into a second level of diffusion up here, into a third level of diffusion down here. It results in very soft, clean YouTube premium lighting. The question is, can this tiny little B10 unit get the same amount or close level of diffusion where it still looks nice and soft? The answer to that is most likely yes. So right here, we have a 3-foot Octobox. Just to give some reference, that is a 3-foot Octobox as well. So this Octobox is the same size, it has the same type of diffusion, it has the layer inside and the layer outside, and should do a fine job. Now, to attach this to the light, you need what's called a speed ring adapter, which is right here. We'll open this right now. This is, get out of there. This is the adapter. This is the mounting assembly that I've showed you before, this massive metal structure inside. You're not lifting that with a pinky, that's for sure. This is incredibly heavy and it takes up tons of room. It's extremely bulky. It goes all the way around this massive light to begin with. The next issue we need to solve with our travel YouTube studio is this. This is our C-stand. It will hold up our light for our YouTube channel. The problem with these things is they are heavier than everything else more or less combined. You can't travel with them. Not only are they extremely heavy, but they don't exactly fold up in a size that can go in any bag. Oh, welcome to the floor. This is the size of my Peak Design tripod, which my camera is on right now. And I know because this is the bag that the Peak Design tripod comes in. So this is about the footprint that we're ideally looking for when it comes to a light stand. Now there are cheap light stands like this, but frankly, they're plasticky and junky, and I don't want to trust a $1,700 light on it. So this is not going to work. Here are the typical light stands that you would use. When we compare it to the Peak Design tripod, you can see the footprint is in another dimension. That is not going to work either, but I did find something else. Check this out. This is a tiny carbon fiber, extremely, extremely light, but durable light stand by Tokistar. All of this is great in theory. Theoretically, we can get enough light. Theoretically, the light stands are strong enough to hold them up. Theoretically, everything should fit in my bag. But we still need to test it. First thing we're gonna do is start to move all of these giant lights so I can replace them with the B1s, and I'm gonna be kind of lazy. I'm just gonna swing this out of the way. I'm gonna put the much improved, I mean, look at this. Look at this. I can hold it with my pinky and thumb. That is so amazing. I don't think you guys fully appreciate what it means to have equipment that is this mobile and light. It's so cool. I could bring this in a backpack. It has a battery. I could set it up outdoors. I could set it in front of a waterfall. I can do so much. It unleashes my creativity that you just can't do with these big lights. Next up, we have this giant light, the massive, huge, heavy video light. I'm just gonna be lazy like again before and move it kind of just a little bit out of the way. And we're gonna set up our next carbon fiber light stand that's so light, and that will go right here. Lights in place. Now we have to replicate this. So for that, like I said before, we have the attachment right here. It's called the speed ring. That will go onto our light. And then we're going to install our new Softbox, also Profoto. It's supposed to be easy. We'll see how easy it is to set it up. And look at that. This will easily fit in the bag. Maybe not inside of it, but it will definitely fit on the outside, strapped onto it instead of the tripod, because the tripod's so small it can go inside the bag. Again, theoretically, we'll try it at the end. That'll be the last step, is putting everything together into the bag itself. So this just goes here, slides right on, and clips right on. So there we go. Now we're gonna put them into place where they'll go when we use them. An extra tool called a snoot. What a snoot does is it takes the light and actually makes it more into a spotlight, like a direct, hard light. That's really useful, especially for the back of my head. We don't want that for the front. For the front, we want a nice, big, wide lighting, which is why we have this giant 3-foot dish over here. But for the back light, the previous light that we had been using, the video light, is actually not a very good option for backlighting, and it's just the only one I had. So this snoot will take this already condensed light and make it even more condensed, so none of this light is gonna touch our background. 100% of it is gonna hit the back of my head, which is exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and open this. The snoot actually folds up like this, and then when you need to use it, pops out. Again, travel friendly. So this just goes right on here, and it should look great. So guys, here we have it, the new studio. We have our B10 with the snoot on our carbon fiber tripod or light stand. We have our Peak Design carbon fiber tripod. We have our little B10 up here with our 3-foot Octobox. So this has been a long time coming. We've built up to this moment. I'm gonna turn off the lights here. The next shot you're gonna see is going to be me in the set with the travel lights on. So the big reveal is happening right now. The crazy thing is about this, the lights that I have on me right now, the B10s, are at the lowest setting they have. That means that this setup won't just work in a dark room like this. If I were to turn these lights up because I'm outside or somewhere that's already bright, these would overpower most light sources. Maybe not direct sunlight, but the point is this is extremely flexible. In my opinion, this lighting setup doesn't look as good as the video lights that I had, the giant ones. It looks better. Well, the only thing left to do is to see if this will fit in my backpack, and I think it will. Right, so here's the bag. Let's see if we can get everything inside it now. There we go. My entire YouTube studio now fits inside one bag. Every single thing I need for my photography and for my YouTube is in this one single backpack. Not a giant suitcase, not multiple hard cases like this, just one carry-on bag. Now I should probably mention that this isn't optimized yet. I can still figure out how to get things to fit better, and there's still a lot of extra room in here. But let me show you what I have right now. So first off, we have our Profoto B10 over here, one of the lights, our Mavic Air 2, and the controller. So they slot right in there. Over here, we have my lens, my 35mm lens. Here we have our speed ring. In this middle space, I have all of the chargers. Well, I put my Leica here, but you can imagine this is where the camera that's on the tripod would slip in. We have the Snoot right here. Honestly, that can go either on top of the camera or somewhere else to optimize space, maybe even up here at the front. We have another one of our Profoto lights. And right here we have my GoPro and GoPro accessories. There's still plenty more room that could fit in this bag, but the important thing is that everything I need will fit in right out of the gate, plus extras. Having my drone and my other things fit in wasn't even the goal. Remember, the way that I used to have it is before I could only fit my lights in here and I couldn't fit any of my other equipment. What's so wild about this is I'll be able to travel without compromise in terms of quality of my photo or of my video. The crazy thing is, this is just the backpack. Remember, when you travel at maximum, you can carry 2 bags with you and a personal item, like a tiny bag, something maybe even like my Manfrotto bag on my chest with a backpack behind me and then 2 bags in tow. So this took a long time coming. I had Profoto B10s for a long time. I just never thought to test them as video lights, and I'm blown away by just how good they are. If this video was interesting or helpful, be sure to let me know, I guess. Leave a comment below with whatever your travel setup is. And if you're actually gonna emulate this or do something like it, tell me that too. I'm curious to see if other people are gonna do this, because for me, trust me, I have been looking for a long time for a travel-friendly video and photo setup on YouTube, on Google, and I found nothing that's been able to put it down to a science like this. If you're someone who likes travel, if you like photography and video, if you like food and seeing the world, then I'd encourage you to check out my YouTube channel where I do videos about travel and food, crypto, and living a digital nomad style life via blogging. So anyway, that's it guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Take it easy, be well, and be creative. Talk to you soon.